Boker Tov, good morning. Today is Thursday, April 21st, Erev, Erev Yontif, Shvi Shal Pesach. This is evening, the seventh day of Pesach, which is a grand moment for us to imagine the greatest salvation. If we remember what the Haggadah tries to describe to us, that however the 10 plagues that happened in Egypt were multiplied by any number of factors to equal in terms of what happened at the sea. 250 miracles happened at the sea. So we should understand just how powerful that experience was. In some of the Hasidic courts, it was customary on the evening of Shvi Shal Pesach, tonight, that they would gather for a ritual of splitting the waters. The Rebbe would come through, I don't know exactly how they made it, these two rows, and there was water somehow involved there, right? And they would kind of reenact the experience of Kriyat Yam Suf, the splitting of the Red Sea. Says the Gemara and the Midrash, it wasn't so simple. We shouldn't take it all for granted that everything would have gone that smoothly. And the most difficult culprit in all of this was the sea itself, the sea, which was not cooperative. We're told in the pasuk, "Vayet Moshe et yado al hayam, vayolach Hashem et hayam beruach kadim azak kol halayla, vayasem et hayam lecharva bibaku hamayim." Moshe lifted his hand, and God brought this wind, this eastern wind, all night long, and it made the sea into dry land, and the waters split. And then the Israelites enter. That's all great and good. But says, interestingly, there's the second paragraph of Hallel, that Mitzrayim is interpreted to mean that there was complication. Hayam ra'a vayanos, hayardain, Yisov lachor. We'll talk about the Yardain for now. But the sea saw, and fled. Says the Midrash, Gemara asks the question, what was it? And that's really what the pasuk asks. Malacha hayam kitanus. What was it that you saw that made you flee? And the answer that's offered, if you follow the Tehillim, milifnei Hashem Adonai Adon chuli aretz milifnei Eloah Yaakov. I fled because of the master of the world, or the God of Jacob. That's why I fled, which is interpreted to mean that Moshe raised his staff and it refused to act. He ordered it to do it so in the name of God. It refused to separate. Only when God showed up, God's self, as the Midrash would read it, does the sea split. And with that, we then go to the other tradition, which says that that's not exactly how it happened. People were all anxious about crossing the sea, and it was only because of Nachshon. This is the tradition of Nachshon, that Nachshon went down to the waters, and we're not going to analyze how the interpretation comes about. Nachshon, everyone's saying, I'm not going in. This is like too dangerous, even though Moshe says that, right? The Be'er B'nai Yisrael, come on, folks, just march in to the waters. The waters were still there; they hadn't separated. So Nachshon throws himself into the waters, and then the waters split for Nachshon. For Nachshon. So you ask yourselves, what was it that made Nachshon capable of doing that? Where did it come from? We can speak about Nachshon as being a person of high faith. That's a very good reason, right? That he knows it's raging there, but I believe in the Lord above, and I've thought this through, and I have faith, and therefore I will act. I was thinking about it in a different context. A few years back, I actually reflected on the Carnegie Hero Fund, which presents rewards to individuals who did any number of heroic acts. People drowning, assailants, burning cars and buildings, charging bulls behind an electrified fence. You can have any number of cases. It was a case of, somebody jumps into the subway tracks and pull a guy off just before the train comes in, right? And it honors such people. And you say, where does it come from? Where do they have that koach to do that? They're like nachshons, right? And it does come from faith? I don't know. Does it come from high moral reasoning? It doesn't seem to be from high moral reasoning per se. Apparently, when many of these people were asked, were interviewed, and this was actually a radio lab which kind of studied some of this. When they asked, what they were thinking, their answer was, "I wasn't thinking. Before I knew it, I just did it. I wasn't thinking. Before I knew it, I just did it." And one more piece of information: Robert Sapolsky, who's a neuroscientist at Stanford, wrote a book called Behave. He offered some analysis, and some of the key points of his analysis is that most people don't think their way. Most people don't think their way to a morally correct decision to help someone, or moral decision to help someone. And he suggests if you give people too much time to think about it, they won't do it. Ironically, he says it's not empathy. The more they try to feel the pain of the other, the less they want to expose themselves to it, he suggests. They're less likely to do a compassionate thing in those situations. And instead, he says that there's an implicit act, an automatic act. That's when the most reliably heroic stuff happens, when you just do it without thought, without feeling, but you just jump into it. So where does it come from? Where does that koach come from? Are you born with it? Do you learn it from your parents? Possibly so. But at the same time, we think about the things that we kind of noticed that are muscle memory kind of actions. They are less. when you can actually play a game, you can play a sports game, you can hit a tennis ball. Not when you overthink it, but when you stop thinking about it at all. I mean, at some point, you got to kind of train yourself, but then you just got to get into it and do it. And the phrase they use is it stops being explicit, declarative, and tasks to an implicit procedural task. You just do it. That's a different part of the brain that's working. So how do you make it, my friends, automatic? That people will just do the right thing at the moment that they need to do the right thing. And the answer is, we got to be working on that. How do we aim to create everyday heroes? How do the people who have risen across Eastern Europe to do the right thing? Hopefully, right, taking people in and saving people in all types of crazy, horrible situations. They're just doing the right thing. The answer is, we got to work on it. We got to work on it by doing them all in the moments preceding. If you train yourself and you help train your children just to be kind and to act for another because you act for another, without it being a high heroic moment, they're just doing it because that's what we do. This is what makes us who we are and what expresses who we are. So then in the moments when indeed heroics are required, they'll be the kind of individual, you'll be the kind of individual, our children will be the kind of individuals who will rise to the heroic moment. That's what it means to be a nachshon. It's maybe you build in the faith and you build in the character. You do all those things, you build it in, and you build into simply this is what we do. So then that's what we do. And when a time comes when that is what's needed, especially, we'll be there for one another. We'll all be our nachshon for the other. The muscle memory will be there, or what was the phrase again we used? The implicit procedural will bring us to do what's needed in that moment. May God make you a nachshon, make us nachshons. Let us be worthy to be recognized for heroics, but never have to carry them out. And let the world be built on the actions of such people, and saved by the actions of such people indeed. Wishing you all a Chag Sameach. Have a beautiful, beautiful Chag.